Welcome back, the Broke Maniacs. Thanks for tuning into the show. Today we're going to be talking about the Hobbit, the unfortunately named Hobbit. And that is because, as we all know, probably, Homo florenzius, that's going to be as good as I get with that. Otherwise known as the Hobbit, found down in the Sumatra area, I believe. I'm not actually for sure where the Hobbit, they found those bones. Somewhere in Indonesia, and an island on Indonesia. So why do I say it's unfortunately named? Well, there's a lot of names for these things. This is actually, there's like 4 categories of what Lloyd Pye has termed hominoids. Hominoids? Yeah, I believe it's hominoids. And so we've got Bigfoot / Sasquatch. Those are the really tall, big boys on the Pacific Northwest. Typically, they've been seen pretty much everywhere else that there's woods in America. But then there's the abominable snowman / Yeti. That's in the Himalaya mountain areas and perhaps nearby. And then there's the Alma and Kaptars. Those are, by the way, the rewind back to the Yeti, abominable snowman. These are not as big as the Sasquatch Bigfoot species, and they seem to link up pretty well with Neanderthal, what we know about Neanderthals. Their footprints, their penile sheaths. Like if you stand a dog up on its hind legs, it kind of looks like it has an erection. These creatures are depicted in art, in Greek art, classical art, as satyrs, which are half man, half goat, and they're usually depicted with erections. That's where that comes from. These hairy, originally they were just hairy hominoids. They were hairy wild men. Then they started later becoming associated with goat's horns and goat hooves and goat tails. Those are all later developments. Those are later elaborations. The kernel of that story goes back to what appear to be Neanderthals. And then there are Kaptars and Almas, or Almaty, I believe they're called sometimes. Those are both big and small. The Neanderthals are 5 to 6 feet tall, but the Almas and Kaptars range from big to small. So they're like Yeti size all the way to Sasquatch size. The whole spectrum. Those are the 3 large versions of hominoids. And then there's the mini version, the mini-me, the tiny guy, short stack. And so that we know as Homo florenzius. I'm just going to go with that. And that we've named the Hobbit, even though they are known as, they're around the world. There are so many stories like trolls, hairy little people underneath bridges. Elves is debatable. Agogwes, Sedapas, Orang Pendeks. We've heard of the Orang Otang. The Orang Pendek is and also one of the names for these things. There's sightings of them. I believe there's one on YouTube. I don't know if it's under Hobbit, but there's these guys riding dirt bikes in the jungle, and you just see a brief flash of some short red hairy thing running by, and you see its butt, and you're like, oh my god, that could be one of these things. That could be Homo florensis. No kidding. The Hobbit. And so I'm going to read Lloyd Pye, the gentleman who wrote the excellent book Everything You Know Is Wrong. He's into cryptozoology, he's into hominoids as he calls them, and this is what he wrote in the article called The Truth About the Hobbits. What Homo florensis really is, but no mainstream anthropologist will dare consider, much less agree with, is an Agogwe, the smallest and most human-like of the four main types of hominoids. I write about this extensively in part 3 of my book, Everything You Know Is Wrong, but the gist of it is this. Agogwes are small, 3 to 4 feet tall, hair-covered, and dominate the folklore tales all over the jungles of Indonesia, Sumatra, Java, etc. Exactly where the new Hobbit bones were found. These creatures have been known and written about for 40 years. There is nothing new about them except to mainstreamers who wouldn't be caught dead educating themselves to things that they have been trained to believe are, quote, impossible, unquote. It is ironic that, to defend their position, the mainstreamers who discovered the Hobbit bones are now saying, we think they're human bones because people on the island have folklore stories about them that go back hundreds of years. And that's a quote. Now, what happens when we hominoid researchers say to them, folklore stories of hominoids go back hundreds of years on every major continent except Antarctica? They virtually scream at us that we're being quote-unquote unscientific and should be dismissed as idiots, or worse, for even suggesting that the myths and legends of benighted savages should be taken at face value. To cut to the chase and give you something you can take to the bank, the hobbits are flatly and definitively not human. They are the bones of the Agogwe type pygmy hominoids. No test will be performed that will show that they are remotely related to humans. If mitochondrial DNA can be recovered, which should be possible because it's been recovered from 3,000-year-old Neanderthals, it will be in the range of the difference from humans that Neanderthals have proven to be. Neanderthals are representative of the Alma's type of hominoid, and not human either. Time will show what I'm saying is right and the mainstreamers are wrong. Book it. That's one thing that I loved about Lloyd Pye is his attitude. He wasn't taking any crap about this subject from anybody, especially the scientific community who poo-poo it and like you said, like, oh, you guys won't take these native and indigenous people seriously, and when we do, we're looked down upon. Like, it's such hypocrisy. But we've got the bones. Like, this is so. This is another one of the examples that when I started back up in cryptozoology on this channel, we were talking about pterosaur sightings in Texas. Well, Texas has sightings. They have like modern day sightings of pterosaurs. They have the most recent pterosaur skeletons have been found in the same region in Big Bend National Park, Texas. And then you have myths about plumed serpents, these flying dragons that were worshipped by the Aztecs and Mayans right next door, right below Texas. So it's like when you get three things like that all converging, it's a slam dunk. It's like, what are we even pretending here? And this is what we have here with the Hobbit. We have all these, folklore and legends about these little hairy people. Apparently, they have reputations as stealing babies and eating them, which is terrifying. They're tough and durable, but obviously they're not going to have the strength as the other three of the hominoid categories. But they're still pretty tough. I don't know. I would imagine they're tougher than us. So it'd be like a chimpanzee type situation. So yeah, we've got the bones of the Hobbit. We've got the sightings, and then we've got the legends and the folklore. Like again, that's a slam dunk, and nobody's recognizing this. Like, people still debate, oh, does Bigfoot exist? It's like, well, one of the three we've just found the bones of, but we called it the Hobbit, and everyone's like, it's like a smoke and mirror show. It's like, we're gonna call it the Hobbit, the one fictional thing. Like, there's all these names for it. Did they go with Sedapa? Did they go with Agogwe? Did they go with the Troll? Did they go with Orang Pendek? Did they go with what's one of the other ones? It starts with an S. I can't remember it. But there's so many traditions about these little hairy people, and nobody none of the scientists familiarized themselves at all with any of this subject. They just call it a Hobbit from Tolkien, which is cool. Yeah, okay, whatever. It's fictional, right? It's based on real stuff. It's based on, well, hobbits aren't really based on trolls. They're based on elves, but or I don't even, if I offended anybody that's in the Lord of the Rings fandom, my apologies. But they didn't call it, the nickname it the Hobbit. That's so lame. Like these people, that just robs them of being. They have a tradition about these little people all throughout Indonesia. They have all sorts of names for them. It's part of all their folklore and legends. And when we find the bones of it, we impose upon it a nickname. We ignore all those legends and traditions. And then we impose upon it a fictional European name. And then cryptozoology is called racist and white, I guess because cryptozoology sometimes dealt with these big game hunting, these Europeans went down to Africa and hunted some impressive quarry, and so they're associated with that, like these white colonizers. So cryptozoology is lumped in with these guys, and again, all that is the atheistic bias of science does not want to confirm myth or the Bible. That's all that is. All the same labels if you go to the cryptozoology page on Wikipedia, it is like, I made a list of it. It's a huge list of accusations against cryptozoology. They're anti-scientific. They're anti-logic, they're anti-this, they're anti-that, they're white supremacists, they're white colonizers, they're big game hunters, they're all the bad things you can lump in with it. Pseudoscientific, they don't follow the scientific method. It's all the same stuff that they accuse Christianity of. And this doesn't serve them well, right? Like when myths are proved to be true, you've proved all these indigenous people true. Like, why are we so... you hear people say that in the past there was like a handful, and I mean like less than, you can count them on one hand. Like there's some people that use alternative history to justify like some type of racist ideology, and which, by the way, was part of science at the time. If you Google scientific racism, like that, when these theories were going on, all of science admits to its racist ideology undergirding it. But they call these alternative historians that because like 3 or 4 guys, used it to back up their European ideology, and or Eurocentric or whatever, and now the whole field of cryptozoology, like that's ridiculous. Like, that doesn't serve anybody. It's like you're grasping at straws in an argument. You're gonna lose an argument, and so you're just going with the emotional name calling at the end, and we live in a world where that wins you an argument. Like, that's why they do it. That's how emotional science has become. Like, the book Dumbing Us Down way back in the day was pointing out that higher education was dumbing us down and preparing us to work in a factory. That's why they had bells, and that's why you shuffled the classes all day long, because there were bells going off in factories, and you were going to shuffle what you were doing. Well, now it's something else. Now it's just playtime. It's babysitting. Like, it's like everybody passes. You don't need to know how to read, and it gets it up to the college level. And so now you just got to name call and be emotional because you can't win arguments, and you have a biased system that wants to denigrate religion and promote atheism. And that's that. Those are cold hard facts. Take that to the bank. Anyways, thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next time.